provide food and shelter for the homeless, and oppose racial discrimination and promote civil rights, while also promoting equal rights for women.
Would I ever leave this company? Look, I'm all about loyalty. In fact, I feel like part of what I'm getting paid for here is my loyalty. But if there were somewhere else that valued that loyalty more highly, I'm going wherever they value loyalty the most.
Looking forward to most about this film?
Well, I think I'm looking forward to cracking up. I hope I can, totally crack up. So I haven't, totally cracked up in a long time.
Welcome back into the Door Report, and welcome into episode 310 on a lovely Tuesday evening, a little bit colder Tuesday evening, April 8th, 2025. I am Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host, Trevor Hulan, a.k.a. Hack Squad Jim Duggan, and we are also joined by a very special guest for what is this now, the sixth time? Is that right?
It's 5 or 6. Yeah, it's somewhere in there.
I think it's 6.
So
bio says 5.
Yeah, I think this is 6, but we are joined by former Vanderbilt offensive line and tight end legend and current alleged TDR attorney, Mr. Blake Fromang. Blake, thank you for taking the time with us here today, part of the TDR staff here, even though he just advises us on what we can and cannot say occasionally, mostly just after the fact saying, why did you say that? But, Blake, thank you for taking the time to discuss some things here with us, especially the spring game coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Well, we've got mostly it's going to be football, talking about the spring game coming up this Saturday. Is that the 12th? Is that right?
Indeed, yes.
The 12th at 1 p.m. We will be having a tailgate to get this out early. Unfortunately, Chef Miller McKee, is unable to attend due to work. So we will be getting Chick-fil-A chicken minis and chicken tenders. So we'll have chicken minis at breakfast, chicken tenders for lunch or whatever if people want those. So that tailgate will start at 7 a.m. sharp in lot 2.
You know what you just forgot?
What?
Beer.
There will be beer. There will also be waters and sodas. But before I forget, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. You're into sports cards or sports memorabilia. Check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include individual cards, NFL team packs, graded cards, and more. Shipping is always fast and free. You can find them at ebay.com/str/615collectibles, or you can just go to ebay.com and type 615 Collectibles in the search bar. All right. Tailgate, we got that information out. Spring game coming up. I just wanted to get the tailgate out early because people are asking pretty consistently, and we're going to get more questions. We're going to try to get a graphic put out. But we are having a tailgate starting at 7 a.m., our usual spot in lot 2. Yep. We'll try to put out the map showing where that is. But we've got that in segment 2 after the TDR cocktail break, talking about and previewing the spring game, giving kind of our thoughts on what we're wanting to see, what we're expecting to see. Of course, Vanderbilt didn't have a spring game last year.
No.
But a very different vibe going into this spring practice and everything associated with it. We really haven't talked a lot of football. No. So it'll be nice to swing into that a little bit. But we do need to recap some transfer portal activity on the basketball side of things. Some good, some you could say bad. But we will recap that. 2 big man additions for Vanderbilt, 1 big man loss to the team out east, and then Jason Edwards found a new home. And then Vandy baseball bounced back with a sweep over Florida, the first sweep in Gainesville in program history. So we will touch on that briefly in segment 1. We have a lot to get to. So, Trevor, I'll go to you and Blake. But currently across all 3 sports, we have the spring game coming up. Of course, basketball, there's a lot of movement going on. Baseball coming off the sweep. What's the Trevor Hulan official vibe check going on right now?
The official vibe check right now, I'm excited for spring ball. A lot to look forward to with this Vanderbilt football program. And as you said, the Vandy boys got a wonderful sweep against Florida. I'll ask Blake in a second. I think Blake was probably cheering for his hometown Gators against the Commodores. But great to get a sweep against those guys. Basketball, a lot of moving parts right now. Overall, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 5. Before we do
7.5 out of 5.
7.5 out of 10.
All right. I was about to say it's pretty high.
Before we
go
to Blake and ask him, I do want to ask Blake a couple questions. Blake, you are an alleged attorney. If you could counsel us. What is the severity of punishment for leaking out war plans on a unencrypted group message? If TDR was to do such a thing, could we get in legal trouble?
Yes.
He gives us that answer a lot.
Okay, second question.
And it actually says no a lot more than yes, to be honest.
Second question. How do you feel about tariffs?
Getting political.
I could go on for a long time. I am not a big fan of the tariffs. Retirement funds taking a hit. Thank God I plan on working for a long time, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not,
Blake,
I don't want to get into it more than that, but I'm going to say they are up there with Tennessee football in terms of what I think of it.
There we go.
Blake's a laissez-faire trade man.
We've got our tariff talk in. I won't hit on my opinions or thoughts. There's some good and bad on there, but it's not tariff talk time. It's football talk time, which is what the people are here to listen to.
We need to tariff Tennessee's NIL funds. What we need to
not worried about that tariff BS. But I will say it's not a positive impact on my company as I work in the stevedoring industry. So shipping and moving cruise vessels and things. So not an ideal situation for my industry either. But yeah, a lot of tariff talk, but let's shift to football talk. Before we get into everything we talked about in the intro, we are now a part of the Rivals Publisher Network. Visit thedorreport.com or vanderbilt.rivals.com today and subscribe to a premium monthly or annual subscription and support TDR. Use code DOORREPORT, all capital letters, no spaces, for a 30-day, no-risk free trial. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and review on iTunes. It's now time for segment 1.
Whoa, wow. Okay. You got it. Come on, Mark. Uh-oh.
Welcome back into segment 1 of episode 310 of The Door Report. First up, as Phoebe has joined the conversation right in front of my face,
Totally
if you're watching on video, we're going to talk basketball first. And let's talk about departures first. Jason Edwards had already entered the portal, correct, last episode. Jalen Carey had already entered the portal last episode, but they did not have destinations yet. Jason Edwards, we'll start with him, the least controversial, shockingly, of the transfers. Jason Edwards has landed at Providence. So I'll swing it to you guys for thoughts on that, but I want to get out some stuff first because I saw a lot of questions, whether on the board or just tweets, that were kind of, what the hell? This doesn't make sense, whatever you want to call it. It does make sense because it was about money. And teams in the Big East, because if you want to remember, these Big East teams don't have football programs for the most part. And so their revenue sharing, as that is now starting, the Big East has surpassed basketball distribution in revenue sharing of all major conferences, estimated at $5.7 million for each program, just in basketball revenue sharing from multiple sources. So the Big East, because they don't have football programs with that money kind of swinging towards, they can pour more money into basketball NIL. So they do have the money to overspend on a guy that right now we're at the peak of the market that needs to crash, as we were talking about in the break markets. So we'll talk about the market and NIL here. We're at the peak of it. It's going to deflate at some point, but Providence does have the money to overspend on a guy, unlike other SEC or other high major conferences. So it does make sense in that aspect. But Jason Edwards to Providence, Blake, Trevor, whoever wants to go. How are y'all feeling about that?
I mean, yeah, I guess I'll start. I have no ill will towards Jason Edwards in this matter. He wanted a bag, and it seems like he got a bag. We'll never know how much it officially is, but if you want to spend $1.5 million on Jason Edwards, I'm sort of in the camp of, okay, be my guest. Cool with me. So no ill will. Hope he has a wonderful career at Providence. I guess just one more year left. 5 schools in 5 years. So that's just the nature of the beast nowadays. I wish him nothing but the best.
Blake?
I understand it from both sides. I mean, I don't want this to come off as a hater take, but being 5'10" or probably shorter, like you guys said he was, I don't think there's huge prospects for NBA for him. So, this is, again, I'm not coming off as a hater. For playing probabilities, this is probably going to be the best earning potential he has for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. You got to look out for you. You got a family, you got to, if you're getting offered 1.5, you got to take it. So
Yeah.
I don't feel any sort of, or harbor any sort of resentment for him. On our side, I am, based on what he was demanding, I'm happy we let him go.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it makes sense for us to set our market on what his production was at 1.5, because that's going to set the floor for future negotiations of players, in similar calibers or a little bit better to come in and demand higher than that, with the floor being 1.5, saying you've already paid that before, I'm worth that much. So I think, from a business sense, I think it made sense to let him walk. Like, clearly he carried us some games. He hit some huge shots for us when we needed them. I'm going to miss him. But, looking at it from a business sense instead of just a production, his production value sense, I couldn't justify spending 1.5 on him. And like I was telling you guys before, this isn't an NFL team or an NBA team where all the money's coming from the owners. This is coming from, I'd imagine, a large part of it from very sophisticated people who donate millions. And, they're looking at where their funds are getting paid. I'm sure they're on the inside and seeing where it's going and how it's going. If you give money, you deserve to get some answers. And I think putting that out there would dissuade a lot of savvy investor type, or the people who are very financially literate, more so than myself, from spending money. Because why would you give, millions to an organization that looks a little bit reckless in how they're running things? So I don't, from the whole picture, I get both sides of it. I like that Paul Grindstaff and company said, here's what we have. We can't pay more. I think that was the right call.
Yeah, we talked about it last episode, and whenever he entered the portal, that's kind of what we said was, it's a new world. Is old school. Of course you want his production back. If we're not talking money and not talking a salary cap that you're basically working underneath in the NIL funds you have, of course you want him back. But you're living in new college sports, and it is a salary cap, and you have to look at production versus money you're spending. And there are guys we can talk about in a second, but a guy like Honor Huff from UTC, that's a guy that I think will demand less than 1.5 million or whatever the final number was, and potentially Vanderbilt could land that could be really similar production value, and then you can land more pieces around him with less investment in your point guard. So I think exactly, it's a business decision. I don't have any ill will wish towards him. Vanderbilt benefited from that. What did you say? Is it 5 teams in 5 years? Is that right?
5 teams in 5 years. And if you go to high school, it's 7 in 7 years.
Vanderbilt benefited from it last year. That's what he's doing. He's upgrading what he's being paid in the NIL era. And like you said, Blake, he's a 5'10" point guard, 5'9" point guard that's not an elite shooter or anything. The NBA future's not there. It's just not. So he's got to maximize what he can earn. And the difference in earning $1 million versus 1.5, $500,000 is a lot of freaking money. Like, we're not talking pro players here that he has, a future 8-10 years left. This is it. So I get it. I'm not going to be cheering for him. I'm not wishing him the best, but there's no ill will. That's kind of like all these, wish him the best. Like, no, whatever. I hope he doesn't get hurt. There's not ill will, but like, whatever. He's out of the picture now. Got to replace him. So Edwards is gone. The other player that has officially chosen his destination, that has entered the portal from Vanderbilt, Jalen Carey. Jalen Carey is transferring to Vanderbilt's arch rival, the Tennessee Volunteers. I'll give my opinion last, I guess. I don't want to talk over y'all's opinion. Interesting to me that Tennessee's interested or wanted him. But Blake, we'll let you go first this time. Jalen Carey to Tennessee. How are you feeling about that?
Like I posted on the board, I really don't care. I mean, he did like Edwards, he did some good things for us, but in this transactional world, I'm looking at it transactional. He's not someone that can't be replaced. I think McLaughlin is better than him. If we had to choose which one to keep, I am pumped. We have McLaughlin. I think, Carey's game, at least how we played him down low, is dominant as he was at times. He got dominated sometimes. There's a huge size discrepancy there. He's got Dwight Howard's game in a 6'8" body. So I don't think it's a huge loss for us. I think we replaced him with some guys. I like who we got coming in. I like the freshman 6'11" kid we got coming in. So from taking my pissed offness about the Tennessee comments out of it and being neutral for a second, I don't really care that he left. I don't think he warrants a discussion of, oh man, we're missing something or we're going to be worse. I don't think we're going to be worse next year. I'm happy with what we're doing. In terms of the Tennessee comments, I was raised not to burn bridges. I was taught that every job I've ever left, regardless of, what's happened. And I've always got along with my bosses, but I have never, ever, ever burned a bridge. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world to do. It can do nothing but hurt you in the future. I don't know what was said behind closed doors in those meetings. Maybe it got personal and he felt the type of way. But to the public, if you're going to hold yourself out to be a professional athlete, you cannot do that. I think it's Bush League, it's rookie, it's childish. It is. I don't want to give him the time of day to make him play this clip in front of everyone and do the whole locker room speech of look how mad everyone is. I'm not mad. I just think it's childish. I do. I mean, if you were back doing it when I was playing before NIL, I'd have a lot more reason to get pissed off because there's more like a sense of you're for this school, you committed to this school, you're an athlete here instead of it's transactional. So my opinion on it now is I'm not going to give it more time of day than that. I think it's very childish, and I hope he grows up.
Yeah, I think this is the wonderful dichotomy of all the many people within TDR, because Blake is being very respectful, being like, hey, don't burn bridges, not going to get upset about it. Me, on the other hand.
Here we go.
Screw Jalen Carey. I have nothing nice to say about Jalen Carey. Have fun getting Vanderbilt's sixth man. I will say, and I think I want to tag team with you on this in regards to this is not because it's Tennessee. Jalen Carey to Tennessee as a fit makes no sense. So initially, whenever Jalen Carey entered the portal, there were rumors that Okpara was leaving, so Tennessee's 5. In that scenario, that makes sense to go to Tennessee to be the 5. Whenever Okpara announced that he is returning, and you're going to put Jalen Carey at the 4, a 4 that is not good on ball, a 4 that gets in foul trouble a lot, and a 4 that likes to foul in a defensive scheme such as Rick Barnes, the fit makes no sense to me, none whatsoever. I think it is, dude, like Blake said, at the end of the day, dude, get your money. That's not going to change it for me. It's screw you. It's screw Tennessee. It's screw Jalen Carey forever and always. So I hate it. But even if it wasn't Tennessee, I would look at this roster composition and this play style and say, brother, this is a bad fit for you.
There are a lot of parts of this. Like, obviously, transferring to the rival, like what Blake hit on, all that. The part that I didn't get hung up in all the shenanigans and antics involved in it. I genuinely do not understand why Rick Barnes wants Jalen Carey. I don't mean it as shitting on the guy. I don't. He's a 5. He is a 5.
And he's going to be their starting 4.
And what they're planning on doing with him is having him play 4. He is the game of a 5 in the body of a 4. And he's not an athletic jump out of the gym type 4-man at all. I don't understand why he's interested in him. Whatever. It's a weird move to me. And I guess the celebration around it is odd. It's like that was Vanderbilt's 5th leading scorer from last year, lost favor in the rotation tremendously down the stretch, and his minutes dropped. It was a weird celebration all around it. I mean, he's a solid defender when he doesn't foul, but he fouls a lot. And he has a good bag of post moves if he's against another undersized post. But most of the time he's not. And that's what happened. That was Vanderbilt's main weakness all year, was they didn't have the size to compete. And their big men just weren't big enough, didn't have the athleticism. And it's like, so why is Tennessee interested in that? They were just a number 2 seed. Whatever. I don't understand. I was trying to, friends were asking that are Tennessee fans of the breakdown. I'm like, guys, I don't mean this because it's Tennessee. This makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like what you were saying, this makes no sense across the board, but whatever.
Well, and two, I think whenever you look at Tennessee's offense and the amount of point production they're losing, so whenever you take the amount of point production they're losing, plus the scheme and fit that Jalen Carey is going to have to play being a 4, Rick Barnes is going to have him out on the perimeter a lot. And is Jalen Carey as a defender somebody you want on the perimeter? No, I don't think so. Inside, yeah, have him down there in the paint. You don't want that guy on the wing.
I mean, I know he's called a forward, but watching this season, when he was in the game, he was the 5.
Yes.
He's listed as a point guard on Vanderbilt's site, but he's listed on these sites as a forward. When he played, he was a center. And when him and McLaughlin were on the court, they swapped, obviously. Those were a little bit interchangeable, but Carey was the 5. I don't know. But Vanderbilt also got some additions of big men that I want to hit on because we do want to keep this moving so we don't talk too much on basketball and baseball. Vanderbilt added 2 6'10" big men, a few inches of height differential. Big difference when you're talking what Vanderbilt struggled with this year. Mason Nicholson from Jacksonville State and Jalen Washington from North Carolina. Both 6'10", both are going to play that 5 position, 5/4. Both 6'10", 2 very different body types and play styles. However, neither are outside shooters by any stretch. But Jalen Washington from UNC, more of that kind of twitchy, skinnier, athletic big man. And then you have Mason Nicholson, who is just that bruiser. Like basically Jalen Carey, just a couple inches taller and longer arms. So 2 very different play styles. I've got their stats pulled up here. I'll read them off from last season. Jalen Washington, 5.7 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, 59% from the field, played 15.9 minutes per game last season for North Carolina. And then you have Mason Nicholson from Jacksonville State, 7.5 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, almost 65% from the field, played almost 26 minutes per game. So shoots a lot of shots down in the paint, so a very high field goal percentage. Not a good free throw shooter, if I'm remembering correctly. I think is about 50% from the free throw line. That is right. And then Jalen Washington is a 64% free throw shooter. So not good shooting big men, but athletic and size, which was 2 things that you really wanted to address this offseason. Now, scores, still a big question mark right now, but 2 big man additions. Swung it to Blake first last time. Trevor, I'll swing it to you. Which of these are you most excited about / what are you excited about here?
I think I'm most excited about Nicholson. Is it Nichols or Nicholson? I'm always butchering it. I think it's Nicholson. Nicholson. Well, I'm most interested and excited about him because, as you mentioned, averaged 7.4 rebounds a game, and one of the reasons, probably the main reason Vanderbilt lost in the dance is because they got bullied on the glass. And now you're bringing in a kid that cleans up on the glass, and that's something that Vanderbilt sorely missed. In terms of analytics, I'm a big Evan Maya guy. Evan Maya had him as a top 3 most efficient big man in all of college basketball in terms of point production. Now, analytics, numbers, however you want to interpret it, but the analytics love him as a big man down low. But what speaks to me is just the rebounds. I think your scoring is going to come from your backcourt. I think that's sort of how Mark Byington is played it this past season. Is how he's going to want to play it. I think in the front court, I think you just need guys that can protect the rim and clean up the glass. And that's what they did.
We didn't tell Blake to prep for any of this. He's just prepped for football. So, Blake, you got any thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I think they're both good. I'm like Trev. I like Nicholson. That's Nicholson, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like him. I grew up a big fan of Shaq. I think that's something Vandy's been missing is just that bruiser. I mean,
Mhm.
look at when we played St. Mary's. Like we need that big guy to counteract other big guys. I think that was a tool missing from the tool belt all year, and we had to game plan around it. Try to double team with guards getting down in the paint and trying to strip the ball out. But I think that shores up a big question down there. I like them both. I think they're great. And one thing I'm really happy about is, listen, I was in the 95th percentile on my tournament bracket, so I know ball. It looks like Byington.
That actually means you might not know ball this year. Just saying, but
No, I do. I think it's a ball knower. Anyway, it seems like Byington's offense is pretty easy to pick up. So I think that's going to be huge for us in that they're not going to have to learn like the Jerry Stackhouse, Harry Potter book, long playbook, and they're just going to play together and get a feel for each other. So I think that's a huge plus with all these transfers coming in. It won't take long to get the feel for the game and, learning 20,000 different plays. So I think it'll be straight. I'm excited about it.
And remember, unless I'm mistaken, you can correct me. Vanderbilt also has Kajani Wright coming back, who was
As of right now.
as of right now.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure.
We don't know.
But regardless, what you have done is the two big things you needed to address where you needed scoring and you needed more size and more of a presence down low. They've addressed one.
Yes.
They're 1 out of 2. Now they need to address the big part of that, which is they got to bring in scoring. I think there are plenty of guys to do that. I think size is the most valuable commodity. It's why you see guys that are 7 foot that can't even hit a layup that are playing at the Division I level in college basketball because size is rare. You can find 5'10" guys that can volume score all day. Now, will they do it at higher level? We'll see. But huge gets for Vanderbilt, and they've addressed one of the needs. Are we going to talk about the commit or one you are confident about that's on the board? Or are we going to take that off the board?
We
or
can, yeah.
Okay.
I still feel good about that. It's on the board. This isn't breaking news as well. He's been rumored on Twitter a lot too. So if you have a Twitter, you're probably familiar with him. Frankie Collins, TCU guard, entered the portal. Has not made it public that he will be committing to Vanderbilt. Sources outside of Vanderbilt and within Vanderbilt that I have found very trustworthy have indicated to me that he will be a Commodore. Just fixing some things up right now, but I feel very confident that Frankie Collins will be a part of this basketball team. Not a great scorer. He's more of an AJ Hoggard type to where he's going to drive to the rim, and that's where he's going to make his money. So not a real outside presence from the perimeter in terms of the guards. And I don't know if you want to get into this either. But we've hinted at some stuff on the board. Some of our board members have hinted at stuff as well. It seems, as of right now, and as of what I've heard as of yesterday, Vanderbilt still has some transfer prospects, that they think are waiting in the wing, and one in particular that I have been made aware of that they're top 2 for right now that I think Vanderbilt fans would be very, very interested in.
Yeah, you can. It's mostly your sources, so it's up to you on what you want to put out.
We've already mentioned him. You mentioned Honor Huff.
Yep.
TCU guard.
No. He's UTC.
UTC, the Mocs. They just won the NIT. One of the premier shooting guards in all of America. As of right now, what I have been made aware of, as of this was yesterday, I haven't heard anything today, which is Tuesday. Most likely what is going to happen is there was a top 3 of Vanderbilt, West Virginia, St. John's. As of yesterday, I was made aware via a source that St. John's is going to pursue Ian Jackson, UNC transfer, very heavily. So that would bow them out for Honor Huff. Sources tell me that as of right now, remember, things are very fluid. Things change all the time. There could be a dark horse coming out of the middle of nowhere. But I believe right now it is down to Vanderbilt and West Virginia University. Sources. And I think personally, I'm high on Honor Huff. I think that would be a slam dunk get.
If they can land Honor Huff, So Frankie Collins, Trevor's feeling very confident about from his sources.
Yes.
If they land him, exactly like you said, AJ Hogarth type, 6'2", 200-pound point guard, good body size, had a foot injury that cut his 2024-2025 campaign short.
Now, how fans feel about an AJ Hogarth type?
No, they have to have that. Like in this Mark Byington offense. Now, that doesn't mean AJ Hogarth, but they have to have a bigger body point guard that's the primary ball handler. They got to have that. And that can't be Tyler Tanner next year. That's going to be a disaster if it is.
I agree.
So they need Frankie Collins. If they can get him, you start, and then they can land Honor Huff. Yes, the rosters come together.
You got a couple
You can
of guys.
see it. If those are the two missing pieces, if you land both of them, Frankie Collins, Honor Huff, Tyler Nickel, McLaughlin, two new big men.
Okery, who is rumored.
Tyler Tanner returning. You've got a lot of pieces there. There's a lot of pieces.
I agree. It's intriguing.
So you go from kind of some fans, we were not, but some fans in panic mode, to two more pieces, and you're right back there to a team that has better expectations than last season. Honor Huff would be a huge get. That's the one to keep your eye on.
Grand slam.
Frankie Collins would be huge as well. He is very similar to the AJ Hogarth mold. High major experience from TCU, 11-ish points per game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, relatively low shooting percentage, a defender, primary ball handler guy. Honor Huff is the scorer. He's the Jason Edwards replacement.
But an even better shooter than Jason Edwards.
So a couple intriguing pieces to keep your eye on. I think it's time we go to whatever premium board questions we have related to basketball from World's Strongest Vandy Fan. He commented on all 3 sports. He just sent a link to Amazon rubber snakes and said, rubber snakes go 6 for $18. Use this as needed. Not saying they should be used at a basketball game next January versus a certain team with a certain player, but just putting the information out there. Then we have some more football, baseball questions. Pretty much all it is football, baseball. So, yep, that's all the premium board for basketball. So let's move on to baseball. Baseball over the weekend, our writer Alex Kurbagov did a great job writing a recap game by game of the Florida series, but Vanderbilt went down to Gainesville, swept Florida for the first time in program history, which was kind of a surprising stat. Won a series against Florida in Gainesville for the first time since 2014. Another interesting stat, but Florida, even though all those stats sound great, not good this year. Florida currently, after this Vanderbilt series, sitting at 1-11 in the SEC. I watched all the games. Florida is not that good. Still great to go on the road in the SEC and get a sweep. Trevor, you had some hot takes about Tim Corbin. I'll just swing it to you after what we saw in the midweek game against Eastern Kentucky, a very good Western Kentucky. Very good Western Kentucky team they beat in the midweek series on an R.J. Austin walk-off hit, and then go on to sweep Florida. So, Trevor, just hear your thoughts on what you saw.
Yeah, I'll start it out. What I've been saying about Tim Corbin and my qualms with this baseball program, and specifically the offensive production, still stand. I'm not backing down from those whatsoever. This weekend series doesn't change my mind whatsoever. But with that being said, for all the qualms I've had, when SEC baseball is just like SEC basketball and just like SEC football, it doesn't matter what type of opponent, what their record is in conference. If you can go into somebody's place and get a series win or a sweep, that is incredibly impressive. And kudos to the baseball team for going down to the Swamp, getting the sweep against Florida. I thought offense production was good. I thought it was better. I thought the pitching was absolute nails for the most part. Vanderbilt's starting pitching is really starting to come together, and I think you're really starting to see some guys emerge and really take stand. And shout out to Miller Green. Whenever Miller Green came in for the game in his appearance, I texted the group chat, and I was like, guys, this is about to go south quickly. I know you want lefty on lefty, but I would bring in Sawyer Hawks in this situation. But man, shout out to Miller Green. He came in, let his nuts hang, fanned some guys. So overall, great series win. Got to keep the momentum going.
Blake, were you able to watch any of the baseball series or any thoughts on baseball in general?
I did watch it. I'm happy with the result. If I said I don't know anything about baseball, like any of the analytics, none of that stuff. So I'm just happy we're winning. Shout out the boys. That's all I can add.
Blake, what's your thoughts on launch angle?
I don't even know what that where it comes off the bat.
Yeah, the angle that it comes off the bat that you launch the ball at.
I don't know. Hit it, swing for home runs. I don't know.
There we go.
Then launch angle.
Swing hard, swing fast. That's my.
Swing hard, swing fast.
Keep your eye on the ball. There, I don't know.
You got a Sparky Anderson over here.
Known baseball guy, Blake Fromang. He's been prepping for this all week.
Show me a fastball, Blake. You just gave me a palm ball. They haven't thrown those at 7.
No, I'm a knuckleball guy. I do a little different. That's the TDR difference. You don't know what you're getting.
A knuckler. That's the TDR difference. A knuckler out here. All right. Let's see if we have any baseball questions because, good showing. Not a good SEC team.
I know Frida's boss is going to have something to say. Shout out to Frida's boss.
You were a little harsher. I don't want my take. Yeah. People are also coming at me a little bit. I'm like, I didn't go as hard as Trevor did. I agree with some of the things Trevor is saying about Tim Corbin. I'm not calling for the firing whatsoever of Tim Corbin.
I should step down.
And I still believe this team is going to be a tournament team, possibly a regional host team. At least as good as last year, I think they are. I think they're 5 to 10% better, so that's a 2 seed or a regional host.
Lord willing, the creek don't rise.
So a little bit different. Just had to get that out there. But we have some baseball thoughts here. From World's Strongest Vandy Fan says, what needs to happen for this baseball season to be considered successful? Or the masses off Tim Corbin. Yes, this is ironic considering I'm one of the masses. I think 1 of 3 would get people to back down. Number 1, win the UT series. Number 2, SEC tournament championship. Number 3, make a super. What do you think would be considered a success? Blake, I'll go to you actually first because I know Trevor's itching to get his opinion out.
It's like you're asking me to solve a finance problem. Well, I have no idea. I hope we win it all. Like I don't have anything to add.
Not a baseball guy. Fully understandable. Trevor?
Yeah, I've got mine. I don't give a shit about an SEC tournament championship. I think they're meaningless. That wouldn't do anything for me. Because I hate Tennessee so much, if he took the Tennessee series, I think that actually would get me off his back, if you want me to be totally honest. But that's not me being like, oh, the outlook of the program and how it's shaping up to be. Like, that's just I hate Tennessee so much. If they took that series or swept, I'd be like, they could literally miss the postseason. I would consider it a success. So I would go in order. What would get me off the back of Tim Corbin the most? Number 1, easy, super regional. Number 2, Tennessee series. I'm not even going to consider an SEC tournament championship. He could win that, and it literally does nothing for me personally.
I don't even know if I'm on Tim Corbin's back. I think I've latched on to the back of some of the stuff you said and haven't pivoted enough.
You're not a Tim Corbin hater.
I'm just on the side. I'm an in-between of where known poster on the board, Frida's boss. And for those premium board subscribers, subscribe to the premium board. But I'm an in-between of you guys. I think there needs to be a conversation had, as you just cracked a new can of Zins over there. Got me salivating a little bit. There needs to be a conversation had, but also the brand is Tim Corbin. Mm-hmm. So it's like, no, I won't ever be on the side of firing Tim Corbin, ever. There's almost nothing, literally nothing. I'm just willing to put the debate and discussion out there of this is how you get to mediocrity from being an elite program. But also, no. He's won 2 national championships in the last decade. Just no. He just doesn't get fired. That's it for me. It's simple. That's it. Yeah. That's actually the end of you could bring I understand and can fully sympathize with arguments on the other side, but I'm just no. Yeah. We have women's bowling and Tim Corbin. That's it. That's what you've got.
Yeah.
And it's I just think that unfortunately I'm somewhere in between. I think you could make the right hire and it could elevate Vanderbilt to being an actual program, or you could mess up, make one decision that looks like the right hire is the wrong hire, and then Vanderbilt can literally never get back there. So I'm just riding with Tim Corbin, whatever. But also a conversation needs to be had. He needs to make an adjustment, or it's going to happen. That's been my whole point. Is he has to acknowledge it.
But how long do you give him the leash of, hey, make an adjustment.
He's got to
make an
miss. He has to
adjustment.
miss multiple NCAA tournaments.
Ooh, really? Oh, wow.
Like once he misses
Multiple's a
one,
little bit. That's Will. Come on, man.
well,
Like,
no,
I
that's
know
what,
our standards for basketball and
that's
football.
what I'm
but
saying for me to say to have him fired. Like if he missed this year, for example, I'm not going to immediately say after the longest streak in the country of making the tournament, fire him after the first time he misses it. But if then it looks like they're not going to make it again, then I'm going to say, all right, fire him. But it's like that's a big step from saying you're going to have a discussion about possibly mutually parting ways and firing Tim Corbin.
So you're okay with not making supers?
That's so this like to get the actual opposition off his back, I think he needs to make a super regional. But for me, I tend to side with once he leaves, I think Vanderbilt craters. That's like, and I'm not like that's just where I think what I end up what I think ends up happening is Vanderbilt baseball just ends up reverting back to the mean, their Missouri baseball. Like that's unfortunately where I hope I'm wrong. I hope this looks dumb, but that's the fear. Being a top 20 team in the country every single year is not the worst fate. That's it. And then, maybe every 5 years you can, put a team together for the next 10 years. You can have a couple teams that actually compete for Omaha. That's not the worst fate in the world. Look at the other programs in Vanderbilt athletics. That there are worse fates to be had.
Off topic.
That's Friedis Boss's point, and I kind of agree with him on that.
Off topic, would you sacrifice Vandy Boys baseball for success in football?
I don't want this to sound disrespectful. Fucking duh. Yeah,
I love Vandy baseball more than anybody on this podcast right now. I would kill Vandy Boys baseball if it just meant that Vanderbilt football would go 8-4 every single year.
Dude,
not even close.
Not even just a bowl.
Just a bowl game, honestly.
Just tell me they're going to make a bowl game. 75% of seasons for the rest of my life. You can
vanish.
You can just get rid of the program. It's fine. Like, and the funny thing is, people will get mad at that, and I'm like, all right.
No, it's true though.
The funnier part is like, all right, I'll show you our back end analytics, and I would say 90% of people that interact with TDR will agree with what I just said. Based on it, we talk about baseball, no one gives a shit about baseball truly compared to football. It's nothing. If I title this Vanderbilt football spring game preview, it will get 3 times the listens as if I titled it Vanderbilt College World Series run. Like it's no one cares about it.
Really sad though, just as like a baseball fan.
You're a baseball guy.
So like
I enjoy it.
The first time you ever actually showed me those, I was actually very disheartened. I was like, oh wow, I thought this would be like a lot bigger than.
No, I had to prove it to Trevor.
I didn't believe him. I was like, dude, there's no way. Everybody loves Vandy Boys baseball.
The shittiest program in the SEC, or the lowest following, not even close, is Vanderbilt. Incredibly more interest in content produced about Vanderbilt football than when Vandy Boys baseball is making a College World Series run. Not even close. Yeah. It's not even competitive
he's not lying.
Because opposing fan bases and opposing teams are interested in football content. It's not that way with baseball. No. So it's an interesting dichotomy. I like baseball. It's just so deeply third, but I don't think there are too many more. It's mostly football because once we said Blake was joining, everybody wanted football. So that was everybody wants to talk to the big man, but the rest is football. So Blake, anything you want to add on to baseball before we hit the TDR cocktail break / a pee break and then go to segment 2 and spring game preview?
Vandy Boys win it all this year. That's where my money is.
Hell yeah. Blake's got his money on the right horse. All right, we are going to take a quick TDR cocktail break and we will be right back for the Vanderbilt football spring game preview. Welcome back into episode 310 of The Door Report. Welcome back into segment 2 in the spring game preview for Vanderbilt football. We are joined by former Vanderbilt offensive lineman / tight end Blake Fromang to help us break down and preview the Vanderbilt spring game. Insight unlike you can find anywhere else on Vanderbilt coverage, some could say. Some could say that,
the
for
greatest
sure.
Vanderbilt football player to ever wear the number 87. When they retire the number 87, it'll be because of Blake Fromang.
Just know it's full optics around why it's another player.
Yeah.
It's really Blake. Like, we all know behind the scenes why that is. But truly, I think you could say the greatest player to wear 66.
Yeah.
Truly. We are going to retire and frame Blake's jersey at some point and put it behind us, even if we have to do a DH gate version, because Blake won't give Trevor his jersey.
I have a DH gate version incoming.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, did I tell you that?
You're gonna
Yeah, I bought a 66 Fromang jersey.
Okay. So once you get the wears out of that, we'll frame it and put it behind us.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. So Blake, you'll be memorialized behind
Did
us.
Spencer Pulley also wear 66?
Yeah, Blake's still better, but did he?
I don't think he did.
Or
No.
he's 77.
Yeah, he was 77.
That's
School was 77.
no.
School was 76, I think. No, I don't remember.
68.
We should just go around and just be like, you name a football player, and I'm like,
I think School was 68.
Okay.
I think Pulley was 77. I'm willing to bet my bank account on that, actually.
I think you're right now that you say that. I think you're right.
I haven't looked it up, but I'm pretty sure. All right. The autism's coming out a bit. All right. Trevor, before we get into the spring game preview, which we're going to start out going position by position, then 3 goals / things we want to see, and then general what to watch in the spring game. But Trevor, there's something you wanted to kind of ask Blake here to start out, since he does have some experience that we do not have here as hosts.
Yeah, and so we just need to capitalize on having a premier SEC athlete on the pod with us. So Blake, everybody sort of makes a big deal about and emphasizes the importance of fall practice because you're gearing up, you're getting ready for the season. I don't feel like anybody. We like to talk about spring practice as fans because it's the first time you get to see football since the season ended, and traditionally spring games come and it's the first time you get to see all these new players, yada yada yada. What is the spring practice and the spring training routine like? Just sort of walk us through the ins and outs of spring ball and maybe how it's different from fall camp.
Yeah, so spring ball, I used to look forward to spring ball because you're coming out of winter workouts, which were death. I mean, our winter workout, especially with Coach Franklin, we'd be up at 4:30 every morning on the field for 2 hours. Everyone's puking. Like we used to call it a scholarship check, just to see if you were tough enough to make it through and you were earning that tuition. So I always used to look forward to spring ball. The difference between spring ball and fall camp that I don't think a lot of people realize is spring ball, as a player coming back after, your freshman season, I redshirted. That was the first real time I was familiar with the playbook going into it. And 2, it's really the first time you get to make a big impression on the coaches. Everyone's like position battles in the fall. No, 85% of the depth chart is pretty much made up after spring. Like, they knew who their guys are going to be going into the fall based on spring. So if you're going to make a jump, if you're going to make a run at a job or something like that, you have to, as a young guy, you have to perform in the spring. Like Pavia he's clearly starting, Stowers is starting, but look at the offensive line, look at the defensive backs, look at the defensive line. Like, if you're going to make that jump, you have got to hit spring football as hard as you absolutely can. So I think, there's impetus on the people coming back who want to get playing time to really, make those steps and show out, because you stop getting reps in fall camp. The closer you get to game week, they already know who their starters are going to be. You get sent to second team or scout team, and you don't get another look till the season ends, or unless like some terrible injury happens and you get brought up just, out of an emergency situation. So I think, as a young guy, spring ball it's great. I developed a lot between my first and second year. I had a good showing. going into my sophomore year, and I got a lot more playing time out of it. I showed Coach Hannah I could do some things, still had some things to work on, but I got a lot more opportunities because of what I did in spring ball. So it's, as much as it's not looked upon as much as fall camp, in terms of seeing who's doing what and how, the coaches are saying, all right, here's a tentative depth chart going in, unless something crazy happens, during fall, this is what it looks like. So it's important. The practices aren't super crazy. I think really it depends on your coach's philosophy. I also think it depends on what kind of team you have. If you have no one who's tested or your team's not super great, I think you run them as hard as you can. You got to get them reps. The vets aren't good enough to sit out of reps. You got to get, reps between the older guys and make sure you can put a decent team out on the field. Where we're at now with our approach to this spring ball is we have returners who've won and they're good. And I think it's really just seeing what the 2s and 3s are doing. There's some battles in the wide receiver room, sure. Defensive line, I think Sidnor and Code are probably going to be the defensive ends. But there's a lot of little positions, running back, for example, seeing who's got what. Offensive line, if Isaiah Glass gets hurt, knock on wood, who do we got behind him? It's a really good – it tells you who you have. And then you go into summer. You do workouts from hell during summer. We used to get broke off with Dwight Galt. And then by the time you hit fall camp, everyone's kind of got an idea of who's doing what and how. There are position moves, but spring's a lot more instrumental than people give it, credit for. And I think you should pay a lot of attention to who's doing what and how, because that determines what looks you get in the fall.
That was great insight. I've watched football my entire life. This is just me being naive. I always thought that whenever you get to fall, it's like, all right, we're going to find out what the rotations are, who the starters are. It makes it and puts into perspective. Man, shout out to Diego Pavia for coming in, missing the entire spring, coming in the fall and being like, after all that work had been put in, and being like, I'm the guy. That's impressive.
Spring practice. We have not talked about it a lot, even though obviously, as Blake just pointed out, very key. We have not had credentials, and even if we did have credentials, not like me and Trevor can go to spring practice. We have day jobs. We just need to triple our subscribers on Rivals, and then I can attend practice. That's all we have to do. So everybody out there, just triple the subscriber base, and then I can attend practice with credentials. That's all that has to happen. But, yeah, you brought up a couple positions that there's some discussion about. Obviously, we can go position by position and just talk about that really quickly. Quarterback, not one of those. You know what you've got, QB1, Diego Pavia. The backup position, we can maybe talk about that more later. I don't think that needs to be discussed too much right now. I think Blaze Berlowitz, Drew Dickey, likely the two guys behind Pavia. But we're going to know more after spring practice what they're sitting with. Running back, you got the three-headed monster. You got Cedric Alexander. You got, what does he go by? MK Young, McKalen Young.
Yep.
And then you've got AJ Newberry. He's got a little bit of some injury problems. Wide receiver, you got Junior Sherrill, and then a lot of question marks. Now you lost Quincy Skinner Jr. I think Richie Hoskins is back.
Yes.
Richie's back, but you lost a lot. You had a lot of question marks last year, and you didn't get a lot answered in the transfer portal, to be completely honest. Offensive line, you lost a lot. You lost a ton. You lost 4 of your 5 main starters. But you got Chase Mitchell coming back. You got Kiva Wesley coming back. You got some talent transferring in with Isaiah Glass. So offense, I won't ask individual positions, but kind of general thoughts on offense, what you want to see, different positions. Blake, we'll go to you first.
Starting with quarterback, I want Pavia to play 2 series, maybe 3 at most. We know what he can do. He doesn't need more reps. He's seasoned. He knows what he's doing. I'd get him out of there. I want to see what this backup quarterback battle looks like. I mean, practice is practice, but that's as close as you're getting to being under the lights in a game day experience. I want to see who steps up and runs the offense the right way. Running back, I just don't want anyone to get hurt, really. I hope they get limited reps. Some of the young guys get in. I feel good. I'd like to see an explosive run or two from MK and get him out of there. I don't want him. We don't need anyone getting hurt there. Wide receiver, hell, boys, I don't know about that one. I mean, we'll see. someone's got to jump off the page. Someone has to do it. And if they don't, I think that's cause for concern. I really like that kid we just got. Trev, is he coming? The shorter guy who's a track star. Is he coming in the fall?
He'll be a fall enrollee. Yep.
Yeah, you don't need a whole bunch of. I mean, route trees are route trees. It's a lot more plug and play than most other positions. So I'm pumped we have someone who can take the top off of a defense. He's very fast. I watched his film today. That's exciting, but someone's got to step up. Someone has to do it. We got to see that. If not, I think we should be concerned. Offensive line, I want to see that kid from, where is it, South Dakota, Henderson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been hearing good things. I think I judged him too quick. He had a bad game against, I think it was Missouri or Missouri State in the playoffs. I watched his other stuff against Wisconsin. He's a big guy. I think he'll be fine. I'm interested to see how he handles Sidnor in Coat. That's going to be big. Glass is tried and true. I'm not sure. Did we have any other transfers enroll? Was it Sterling Porcher who's there, or is it another one?
Yeah, you have. I know returning. You have Cade McConnell, who I'm particularly very high on. Glass is the big
Gunnar
one.
Givens, right?
Gunnar
He's from
Givens
Virginia
Vermont
Tech. Yep, that was the other transfer.
Yeah, I know we have some guys transfer coming in during the summer too. So I guess with the offensive line,
Jordan White from Liberty. That was the main one outside of Isaiah Glass.
That's right. Jordan White's a dog. Isaiah Glass, I want to see what these transfers are doing, but really, like, we got so lucky last year with the injury situation. We didn't have to put a whole bunch of backups in there. I want to see if they can hold their own against. I think our defensive line looks pretty good going into spring and will give us a good indication of how the backups can play. It's like what I said earlier. This is your chance to show you can play, and they got to step up and do it. Tight end's a done deal for me. I mean, Stowers is starting. I think, what's his name? Was it Cole Spence? Yeah. He and Cole Spencer 1 and 2. They're definitely the starters. I'm very intrigued with Bryson Coleman. I want to see what he can do. I've been hearing good things about him. So, I mean, in terms of the offense, I want to see the most out of the young guys in the offensive line and the wide receivers and everyone else who's a vet and has proven themselves. 2-3 series, get them the hell out. We cannot afford an. That's the worst case scenario, is a starter gets hurt. And we cannot afford to have that. And the last note I want to put on this to everyone listening is, do not expect a fireworks show. Do not expect Beck to come in and with a whole new playbook and do stuff that makes your head spin or would make the Sports Center people say, wow, or what's his name? I forget the guy who breaks down offensive film on Twitter, who's like, oh, look at this shovel pass. You're not going to get anything like
Brian
that.
Baldinger.
Ball dinner. Like, it'd be stupid to do that. Because it's a televised game, everyone's going to get it. This is going to be boring. It is going to be run the meat and potato plays in the playbook that we need to get guaranteed 3-4 yards a pop. Maybe throw a wrinkle in there, but do not expect a whole bunch of fireworks or fun, and do not get angry at Beck saying, why didn't you call these plays? We're going to be terrible. But they're not doing that. That's not the purpose of spring. It's to install the base plays, see what everyone can do with them, and make evaluations. All the fun shit is going to happen in the fall. So just be patient with it. Just evaluate the talent. Don't evaluate the plays getting called.
He took a note, so I don't have to say it.
Yeah.
That was one thing I wanted to point out. So he took that off the table for me. So that's good. Trevor, thoughts on the offense?
Yeah,
and we still have our three goals we want to see. So this is just supposed to be a brief preview of the roster.
To piggyback off what Blake said, I think in terms of the offense, what's most interesting to me is, this is going to sound boring. You said don't talk about it a lot. I'm actually very interested into the backup quarterback competition between Drew Dickey and Blaise Berlowitz. Blaise Berlowitz obviously very involved and familiar with the Tim Beck scheme. Hearing really good things about how he has progressed this spring. Additionally, offensive line. One guy that I'm really big on that I think a lot of people are sort of not looking at. Cade McConnell, transfer from Minnesota. He's back. Didn't get a lot of playing time last year. Played a lot of guard at Minnesota, or that was his primary position. I think he is very good at the edge. I think he's very good at left tackle, right tackle, at swing. quick, strong, all that. Whenever Gunnar Hansen was taken out for the Tennessee game, at tackle, they put in Cade McConnell. And Cade McConnell did a very, very, very good job at handling James Pierce. I think he's very intriguing. I think his versatility is really good. I'm very excited to watch him play. But without getting too much into the three things to look out for, I totally agree. It would go offensive line, probably number one. I'm going to go backup quarterback competition. In the running backs, I'm very, very high on MK Young. Glad he's back at practice. I'd like to see probably a burst or two from him and then get him out. I agree with Blake.
So I'm going to run through the defense real quick, and then let's get to our three things we want to watch or three goals from the spring game. Actually, I'm going to do special teams first, then defense really quick. So Brock Taylor returning at kicker. You got that pretty settled. You also know who your punter is going to be, even though you've never seen him in black and gold. Nick Haber, Washington State transfer, proven Aussie punter. You got another guy stepping in. Should be great. Going to the defense, I didn't even mention tight end when I brought up positions initially running through the offense, because the tight end room is outside of quarterback, the one you know. Like you know tight end room is a strength. You got literally, and this is not an exaggeration, the best tight end in the country, and Eli Stowers returning. And you've got probably the best backup tight end in the country in Cole Spence. Mm-hmm. And then you have probably the best third-string tight end in the country, in my opinion, in Cam Johnson. Mm-hmm. So you just have a bunch of studs at the tight end room. So going to the defense, we'll start in the secondary, and there are some questions on the premium board, so I'm not going to go too into it, but just getting into the guys that are there. In the safety room, you lost two key pieces. You lost to Ricky Wright, one of Trevor's favorites, battled through injuries all year last year.
My second favorite behind Chuck.
Yeah, I think DeRicky literally every game was out at least a series with an injury.
I love DeRicky.
Man, he battled through. You also lost CJ Taylor, who is pursuing NFL dreams. Hopefully we will hear his name called in the third day of the NFL draft, hopefully rounds 5 through 7. So you lost a couple key pieces to your defense, but you brought in probably your best transfer portal guy outside of maybe Keanu Coote, which we'll hit on in a second. But you brought in CJ Hurd from FAU.
Sea Snake.
Dog. 53 tackles last year, proven guy. He's a can't miss. He's one that everybody wanted. And you brought him in. I think he saw what CJ did last year in this defensive scheme and was like, I want to be a part of that.
He's going to put some kids in body bags this year.
You also have Marlon Sewell returning and Dante Carter returning. So you have a lot of depth and talent. Maybe not depth. You have a lot of talent returning in that safety room, as well as talent coming in. At the star position, you got Brandon Fontenette. He's going to be on the field almost the entire time there. Dog. Maybe your best player on the entire defense outside of one of the linebackers we will hit on in a second. At corner, intriguing position. A lot of potential. Probably the highest ceiling and lowest floor of any position group on this roster. You got Mark Davis, who was supposed to be a key piece of the secondary, returning from an Achilles injury, transferred from SIU before last season. No idea what to expect from him. You have Martell Height returning, showed a lot last year. Could be a very key piece in the secondary. Jalen Lackey showed a lot last year, returning as a sophomore. Trudell Berry returning, key piece. Colby Taylor is back. He's back. Despite everything, Colby Taylor is back with boxing gloves.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Vanderbilt also got a transfer in the Jalen Carey trade. Vanderbilt brought in Jordan Matthews, Tennessee cornerback, familiar name, Tennessee cornerback coming in. So could be the best secondary we've seen in years from Vanderbilt. Could be huge. Linebacker group, the most proven and best group on this entire defense. You have Brian Longwell, Langston Patterson, probably the best, most proven player on this defense, and Langston Patterson, Nick Rinaldi, Prince Colley. How much are we going to see Prince Colley? I don't know what you're giggling about so heavily.
I'm just thinking about them trotting Colby Taylor onto the field with boxing gloves.
I didn't think he was still going to be on the roster. I'm shocked.
Dude, could you just imagine him going to the boundary? He's just got boxing gloves on.
Linebacker group, just named him off as we move on from Trevor's derangement. Edge rusher / defensive end, whenever you want to call it. Keanu Coote. So I said, the most proven, probably highest rated on all the transfer portal rating sites was CJ Hurd. Keanu Coote was a former 5-star, an athlete type that Vanderbilt just simply put doesn't get ever. He has potential if he can perform how he should, potential to be a guy that is a game changer for Vanderbilt. So Keanu Coote, Alabama transfer. You also have Miles Capers in that edge spot, proven edge rusher. On the defensive line, you've got Corday Sidnor coming back. Huge Purdue transfer before last season, massive. You also have, and I think a forgotten piece in how good he was, Zaylen Wood coming back. Was Vanderbilt's best defensive lineman last year before injury. Zaylen Wood, huge getting him back. Wataha, 6'7", 300-plus pound big body on the interior. You have, Demarion Thomas.
My boy. Hey, I'll say this: breakout player of the year this year, Demarion Thomas.
Aaron Bryant, a Texas transfer, former 4-star. Vanderbilt has depth in that front seven, unlike they have ever had before. That's what I just have listed. I could list a lot of names, but I just have a lot of depth written down. The front seven for Vanderbilt is something that has potential. It could all fall apart. We're Vanderbilt football fans. I have to throw in that caveat. Could all fall apart, but this line and front seven in general has potential to be something we've literally never seen. Vanderbilt's had good defenses in the past. In the Derek Mason era, very good defenses. Nothing like what this has a chance to be. Yeah. This has a chance to be not just a good defense for Vanderbilt. This has a chance to be a good SEC defense. One of those top 25 statistically in every category defenses as far as run and pass rush go. We will see if that works out, but they've got the talent there for once. So that's the defense. I want to get to board questions. I know you guys have takes on defense and things you want to talk about, but there are board questions that'll probably step on. So I'll start out with the most relevant to the defense question that I saw from Unabridged. Just says, what do we think our starting secondary is going to look like? Trevor or Blake, either one of you can jump in here.
Brother, that's the $1 million question, I think, on defense. If I had to guess, gun to my head right now, I'd say at cornerback, I would trot out Martell Height and Jalen Lackey. I think Jalen Lackey can be very, very good. I'd trot out – this is where I'm going to deviate. I think, and I've said this for a while now. I said this before he was even on the team. I think Carson Lawrence could be a day one starter at safety. I think he has got it. So I'm going to go one of Carson Lawrence, CJ Hurd. I'm very, very high on Carson Lawrence. And Will can attest to this. Before he even stepped foot on campus, I said, this kid could be a day one starter. I think Carson Lawrence is the truth.
Blake, you got any thoughts on the secondary?
That question was from Unabridged?
Yep.
Well, you're about to get bridged, my man. So I like Height. I like Lackey. I really am intrigued by Jordan Matthews. I really am. I want to see him do something. I do. Sea Snake for sure. I think that's a lock. You can't look at that guy and say you're not going to be on the field. So he's definitely going to be on there. I want to see what Dante Carter does in this spring game. I mean, he was the $1 million man in the recruit, and he did a fine job last year. I think everyone, with all you bring in new blood, everyone gets excited about him. Sometimes you overlook things. I want to see what Dante Carter's up, what he's been doing in the weight room, what he's up to, and what he's going to get done. But Lawrence could easily take that spot. You rent your position out there. Anyone could come and take it. But that's my sleeper. I want to see what Dante Carter's been up to. Hopefully, he can show out in the spring game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much the same as what you guys said. I think ending up it'll be Lackey, Martell Height, CJ Hurd, and then I think Clark Lee, based on what I've seen in the past, I think game one Marlon Sewell will be the other safety.
I think you're right.
Just you've seen it. Has experience. I think he's a graduate senior. He's been in the system. I think what we've had reported to us, Dante Carter has not performed well in the weight room so far. And he's slid down the depth chart a bit. So I would go Dante Carter just based on pure talent, but what we've kind of heard through the grapevine. I'm going to say Marlon Sewell and CJ Hurd will be the starters there day one.
And we'll add the context. His performance hasn't slipped. He's still a dog out there. He's just, what we've heard is he's just one of those kids that's a hard earner. Like it's hard for him to put on, hard for him to put on weight.
So getting to more questions before we hit on whatever else we want to talk about here. Says, seems like every offseason we add some high upside athlete, in parentheses, Micah Bell last season, Jaden McGowan, etc. Who then does jack shit for us? What should we expect from this new JUCO transfer? Will he break the mold? Somebody added a comment that said McGowan was actually good his 2 years here. So that's true. But yes.
Yeah, I thought McGowan, especially his freshman season, we were like,
yeah.
who
but I do agree with what they're saying in general, that it's like you hear about these guys
like
and
a jackrabbit.
They end up just not making that much of an impact. So do you believe in Trey Richardson? You seem pretty high on him.
I said this on the board. Somebody, and I apologize, I'm forgetting the username, but they said, "Oh, well, can he catch?" And I posted his stats. Yeah, he can catch.
Keep it rolling. I've got to pay.
He led his team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. I am not a football recruiter. I am not a football scout. I am not Barton Simmons. I am not Chad Simmons. I am not anybody with rivals who is employed to scout and evaluate talent. I will say, in my humble opinion, I would rather have a kid that can run fast, because you can teach a kid how to catch. You cannot teach a kid how to run fast. And Trey Richardson has burner speed. Just for context, I posted this on Twitter just to give you a little insight as to how fast this kid is. In a 60-meter dash, he was 0.2 seconds behind Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill ran a 4.43. He ran a 4.73, and these are just off the top of my head. Alan Richardson on Twitter, also, who is a track and field coach, noted that his dash is up there with DK Metcalf's as well. So this kid has legitimate burner speed. So that's my 2 cents on him. And I don't know, man. It's hard to say, because the kid's going to come in the fall, and it's hard to come in the fall and make an instant impact. People have done it a dozen times, but you never know.
Yeah, that's the question on that. I hope you answered it well, Trevor, because I did not hear it.
Blake, did I answer that well?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, Micah Bell came in and did a whole position change from DB to wide receiver. So, I mean, I don't think that's a great example. And Jaden McGowan was good. So, I don't know. I like what this kid brings. We need someone who's got burner speed. I think his tape looked good. I think he'll be fun.
I agree. Friedis Boss ask, what time is the spring game? 1 p.m.
1 p.m.
Ask, what time does the tailgate start? 7 a.m. And then he says, Will owes me a beer and a shot of my choosing. The bet was basically that Tyler Tanner's minutes would dip below 18 minutes per game during SEC play, because Will thought he would have a lesser role. Now conference play began. Yep, I was wrong. He didn't. He should have, but he didn't. Ultimately cost Vanderbilt a lot. But yeah, I owe him a beer and a shot. So free to come by the tailgate. I owe you a beer.
And a shot.
And a shot.
And a shot. Yep. Football. Any news on the O-line coming together?
So a little insight. Here's the thing. Coach Klanakis is legitimately a mad scientist in how he puts together offensive lines. The way that he works in spring is he puts dudes at positions they've never played before on offensive line and sees what works, sees what doesn't. So you're having a lot of mixing and matching and doing things that to the naked eye don't make sense. You're like, this kid's never played guard in his life. He's the size of a tackle. He should be a tackle. Let's put him inside and just see what works. That's sort of how it's going together. I think you will definitely get a semblance of what that looks like come this Saturday. You'll have a much better picture. It would be impossible to tell you what the depth chart is right now based on how Chris Klanakis puts together offensive lines. Like, for context, last year, like, Gunnar Hansen played interior in the spring a lot. Like, he's like, this kid's a tackle his whole time. He's like, I'm going to put him at right guard and just see what happens. So, like, that's a little bit of context of how he functions.
And then the other part to that question was, do you think having a cupcake game to start helps even more now in this massive transfer era? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love having Charleston Southern game 1. Big time. Love that. Obviously, it worked out last year with Virginia Tech, but generally I like having the cupcake to start out.
Well, do you remember? I don't think Blake was on this team, but during the Derek Mason era, whenever Vanderbilt almost lost to Charleston Southern.
I was on that team.
You were on that team. It was a holy. Well, the final score was like 13-6 or something like that.
I think that was my tight end year.
Oh, what a brutal game that was. I'm sorry I brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just said yeah.
Yeah.
All right. George asks, what's the opener for the spring football game TDR tailgate playlist? So it's normally it is All Gold Everything by Trinidad James. That's normally what we go with. And then we kind of move along from there. I think I will stick with that. Just as got to keep tradition going. But Trevor, maybe Pink Pony Club. I think that might be more when people start arriving.
I put on a lot of Chapel Roan onto the Lot 2 tailgate playlist last year. The dudes didn't like it. The ladies loved it. You know what? A sleeper song that I've really been onto recently. I don't know what he's saying, but DTMF by Bad Bunny, banger. Also, shout out to Blake. Blake, you'll enjoy this. We started a lot of tailgates with Dragula last year.
Yeah,
Dragula. We started a lot of tailgates with Dragula. It was 7 a.m. Beers were flowing and just Rob Zombie blasted on West End.
Day and Night, also a big one.
Ooh, Day and Night. Yeah, that's a good one. I love Miller to death, and I absolutely will always appreciate how he puts on tailgates. Miller should not be in charge of the aux because Miller puts on some like Luke Bryan and he's like banging boots on the back of my truck. And I'm like, Miller,
can't do it.
Not the vibe right now, brother. Maybe later, not right now.
You got any votes for the first song, Blake, even though you won't be there?
Do you play the censored or uncensored Trinidad James song?
Uncensored, of course.
And do you hit the pause button on you rapping along with it during the song?
Of course.
Okay, just making sure. When you said that, I was like, my man is playing with fire every tailgate.
Of course, I can't sing along to every lyric, but the general spirit of the song I can get behind and sing along with.
We do censor ourselves when need be during rap songs.
Of course.
We can confirm.
Of course.
First song of the tailgate. Is it mostly dudes there, I'd imagine?
Oh, yeah.
Straight sausage.
You said the ladies enjoyed it. Were you talking about like more than one?
There's like 4.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about right.
And they're very pretty, and I'm nervous to approach them. So I just dance by myself in the corner and eat like 4 hot dogs.
Yeah, I got to think about that. First song to kick it off. I'd say let's do a new one here. Let's go Dragula.
That might be the move. We might have to do that.
We need all the women to be scared. Like that's the vibe you got to set. Like this isn't a fun place. This is a pit of hell you're in, and you're getting ready to walk into it.
Yeah, we accidentally send out the vibe of scaring women regardless. So I think it works out to start it off that way. And
you want to keep them. Yeah, they should be on their toes around the tailgate. That's
the
good.
Women pull up to lot 2, and they're like, I don't like this.
Yep. Generally, I found that to be the case. But
this dude's ripping cigs.
Yeah, when they write, they're like, change the song and be like, oh, I got you, and then put Dragula back on again. Yeah, make the Blake kids miserable.
There we go. Beautiful. All right. So let's run through our 3 goals / what to watch for in the spring game. We're just going to do them all 3 at once, real quick each.
Yep.
So I'll run through mine first, and then we can go to Blake, then we can go to Trevor, and then we'll close it out here. So my 3 goals, we've kind of all hit on them at some point. But number one, Blake, you talked about it, no injuries. Me and Trevor,
everybody's number one.
me and Trevor talked about this before. I know it's basic. I know it's dumb, but literally this year, Diego Pavia, I wouldn't even play him in the spring game, if we're being honest. I know he has to practice. I know there's always the risk of injury. It's different when you get into a spring game. I know the quarterbacks will be a no tackle, no touch, different colored jersey. I get it. I just wouldn't have him out there. He's proven what he needs to prove. His game is not conducive to not being able to be tackled at all. I wouldn't have him out there. Stowers is not going to play. Junior Sherrill getting injured would be devastating to this team. CJ Hurd getting hurt would be devastating. I know you have to see him, but Langston Patterson getting hurt would be devastating. Just no injuries. That's my number one. Number two, running back battle. We talked about it a little bit. You got a three-headed monster potentially. AJ Newberry's not going to be playing. You said he's not going to be available really until the fall, but you're going to see MK Young for the first time. You're going to see Cedric Alexander, who's the presumed workhorse of that backfield, but I want to see some flashes for MK Young. And then I just want to see a secondary playmaker outside. So you have Eli Stowers at the tight end position. You know what you have with Diego Pavia. You know Junior Sherrill is likely your wide receiver number one. You know what you have with running back. O-line's a question, but really the biggest question on this offense is, outside of Junior Sherrill, do they have anything at wide receiver? And if they could find two other options, Bryson Coleman, a guy that had an injury that there's a lot of positive reports about. Chance Fitzgerald, is he that guy transferring in? There's a lot of questions. So those are my three. No injuries, number one. Running back battle, number two. And finding a secondary outside playmaker is my number three. So Blake, what are your three things you're looking for in the spring game?
Beating a dead horse on one. We got to get the backup quarterback situation figured out. Pavia is going to get hit during the season, and we need someone who can go in there and make plays. They don't have to go in there and necessarily be Pavia. I would like to see a long bomb from Berlowitz just to show he's got a different club in the bag than really a lot of times we see from Pavia. He can get in there and run the offense well. Drew Dickey sounds to me like he's more consistent. So they got to – I mean, this is the grand stage for their careers at Vanderbilt. They're going to go into the fall knowing who's doing what. This is it for them, and we got to get someone we feel comfortable with running this offense other than Pavia. It is a recipe for disaster if we do not have a solid number two that we trust. It is. Number two is defensive line, specifically the pass rush. Our whole offensive line, including transfers and everyone, they're not there. You went over the depth of the defensive line. Candidly, if our defensive line does not dominate this spring and get, 3-4 sacks on this offensive line, I don't care from any position, we should be worried. We have the best defensive line and pass rush we have had in years, maybe ever, Will. You might be right on that. Our defensive line needs to meet the moment, set the expectations, and get some sacks. Conversely, my third point is we got to see what the offensive line depth looks like. Henderson's probably starting. I think Jordan White's definitely starting. Some of the other transfer guys are. I think there's one or two more positions on that offensive line I'm not sure about that are toss-ups in terms of who's going to play there. So we need to see who's going to meet the moment, who's going to rise to the situation, who can play against really a very qualified defensive line. And at the very least, we need a sixth and seventh guy who can come in because injuries are frequent on the offensive line. We got to build that, 7 to 8 man depth up front, and we really need to look at that and evaluate that. We need to feel comfortable going into the fall. So those are my three. Again, I expect it to be a boring game. I honestly think the defense is probably going to dominate most of the day on this, minus when the twos and all the backups are in or however they do it. But I want a boring game. I just want to see what individual players are doing. I don't expect too much in terms of a fireworks show.
I think a boring game is the ideal outcome for Vanderbilt fans. I think that's what you want to see. A boring game means Pavia played literally one series. He did nothing, which is good. I think for once you're sitting here saying outside of the O-line, which you're never really going to know fully, especially Is the D-line good? Is the offensive line bad? Is the offensive line good? Is the defensive line bad? You're never really going to know in that. But the offense is, you know what the offense is. I mean, you know what they have. For once, you're feeling confident. Like, you know who the running backs are. Of course, you want to see, like I said, my keys. You want to see what they have with MK Young, because you really haven't seen them. But you know the running backs are solid. You know Pavi is solid. You know the tight ends are solid. You know you have Junior Sherrill as your wide receiver 1. But there are very few specific questions on the offense. So yeah, I'm hoping for a boring game. That's kind of the gist of it. But Trevor, what are your 3?
Yeah, I think you guys hit on the broad ones in the position groups that I think all Vandy fans should focus on. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go with 3 individual players that I'm personally very interested in and want to see how they fit into this Vanderbilt team. First and foremost, Keanu Coote. I'm very interested in him. Like Will said, the type of kid that Vanderbilt has never, ever gotten. You can say that with Prince Colley as well, but really Coote more than anybody. I'm interested to see more than anything what his body looks like. I think whenever he was coming into Vanderbilt, I think he was a little bit undersized for me personally. I think he was a little bit light in the britches. I need to see that he's bulked up a little bit and added some size. But regardless, fast kid, twitchy. I'm very interested in him. Also hit on, for my number 2, hit on him a little bit, Carson Lawrence in the secondary. I am very, very, very excited to see Carson Lawrence. I think he might be one of the most underrated and talented guys on this defense, and I'm willing to stand on that and say, hey, well, you haven't seen him play at all for Vanderbilt. I'm telling you guys, I think this kid is the truth. Additionally, we've really highlighted him. You got to see something out of Junior Sherrill. You have to. I need to see a bomb or two to Junior Sherrill. I need to see that his route tree has expanded. I need to see that he's more than just a run a go route type of guy. I need to see some versatility in that. I need to see him beat guys in the secondary. I need to see him get separation. I need to see him have a couple yards between him and the man who's on him, and I need to see him exploit those guys. So those are 3. One that's returning, obviously, Junior Sherrill. We're very, very familiar with him. But Carson Lawrence and Keanu Coote, I'm very, very intrigued by. Additionally, honorable mention, I'll give you 2. One guy that's returning that I'm very high on additionally, and I thought had a stellar end of the season last year, Demarion Thomas on the inside of that defensive line. I think that kid's the truth. I think he's going to have a breakout season. Additionally, Aaron Bryant, transfer from Texas. I think an absolute run stopper, and I think a guy that not just can stop the run up the middle. I think they can get pressure on the quarterback up the middle. So those are just some guys that I'm really interested in.
We got me and Blake's keys. We have Trevor's key guys to watch. That's about it for the preview of the spring game. A lot to unfold in front of fans. A lot of questions that won't even be answered in the spring game that will be answered over summer and in fall camp. But we will be out there 1 p.m. kickoff time for the spring game. It's on SEC Network, right? Yeah. SEC Network. We will be out there in Lot 2 at 7 a.m. sharp. Join us out there.
I'll just add one more thing to piggyback off what you and Blake said. If you don't see anything, guys, that's fine. More than anything else, thank God that Vanderbilt is actually having a spring game. Whenever university after university after university is canceling their spring games and not allowing fans to come and watch football during this time of year, I'm incredibly thankful that Clark Lee and this Vanderbilt program are allowing the spring game to continue and to give fans an opportunity to go and watch football. And so just as somebody who loves football, and I'm sure everybody else who's listening to this loves football, just go and enjoy it. Just be thankful that you get to watch football in April.
Yep. I think it's very situational. I think it makes a lot more sense this year for them to have a spring game. I think it's a good thing they didn't last year. But yeah, I mean, this is just a celebration more than anything. Just hope everybody stays healthy. It's just a practice tailgate. It's a glorified practice out there. Hope for a boring, non-eventful spring game that we all have a good time enjoying. Blake, any last thoughts you have here about anything?
Vandy boys, not just national champions. Vandy boys, world champions.
World champs.
World champs.
Who are they going to beat in order to be world champs?
Everyone who's in the tournament that they play. So, last remark. Can we get back to the red, white, and blue jerseys? I hate the green Army. I hate them. What I'm wearing now, this was the golden era. I think we won the Natty. That year we were rocking these. The green is not good. I don't like it very much. I don't have opinions on Corbin Stego or whatever, but I do have opinions on this. Terrible color palette. It looks bad on screen. It's like a puke green, bad, terrible. Listen, you already changed the logo around. Don't change our American colors. It's red, white, and blue. World champs.
Trevor likes that take a lot.
God, somebody for once agrees with me that the Sunday greens are disgusting. Salute the troops. Proud to be an American. I hate the Sunday greens. Hate them.
Trevor and Blake in agreement. Replace the Sunday greens with the blues.
Or just wear gold, guys. We're gold on
We're
Sunday.
gold. I'm in favor of bringing the golds back. But, that's just me. But I think that's it for episode 310. For myself, Will Byrum, my co-host Trevor Hulan, and our special guest, Blake Fromang. This has been episode 310 of The Door Report, powered by 615 Collective.